Hello and welcome to Quest Recapped. Today, we will be going through the 2010 animated action-adventure film, How to Train Your Dragon. The story kicks off in the picturesque, bustling village of Berk. Despite its beauty, Berk is plagued by one significant issue: it's constantly under dragon attack. For a Berk Viking, eliminating these dragons isn't just necessary, it's the most prestigious act they can perform. Amid a dragon raid one evening, we meet Hiccup, a 15-year-old boy. His father, Stoic, the village chief, barely acknowledges him due to his small stature and is often the town's laughingstock. Determined to flip this narrative, Hiccup aspires to take down a Night Fury, the most formidable and elusive dragon, believing it's his ticket to respect and acceptance. Therefore, Hiccup goes to fight the dragons, but he is forbidden because he is not as strong as everyone else. However, he is too stubborn and sets off outside by himself. He then targets and fires a bowelless launcher at a Night Fury. Hiccup is happy to see the fallen dragon, but another dragon spots him and prepares to attack. Stoic, who is tying up a dragon, notices this and rushes to Hiccup's aid, causing all dragons to break free. This creates a commotion in the town, and therefore, Stoic orders Hiccup not to take part in the dragon fights because doing so will only destroy the village. The following day, Stoic meets with other Vikings to come up with a plan to invade the dragon's nest and end the war once and for all. Many of them initially refuse, but when reminded that they can only stay if they watch after Hiccup, they all agree to go. Meanwhile, Hiccup ventures into the jungle in search of the Night Fury he attacked the night before. He comes across an injured dragon in the woods, who has lost part of his back fin and is unable to fly. When Hiccup goes to kill the dragon, he cannot bring himself to do it. Instead, he decides to cut off the ties that hold him and set him free. After he is free, the dragon rushes for Hiccup but decides to spare his life as a sign of gratitude, and retreats through the forest. Hiccup then returns to his village and meets his father. He informs Stoic that he is no longer interested in fighting dragons. However, Stoic disapproves of his son's decision and hands him an axe, informing him that his dragon fight will begin the next day. The following day, Hiccup goes to the training session with other kids instructed by a man named Gabber. After gathering their shields and weapons, the gang must withstand 6 attacks from the beast. However, one by one, they are defeated until only Hiccup and a girl named Astrid remains on the battlefield. In a moment of distraction, Hiccup is cornered, and just as he is about to be set on fire, Gabber captures the beast and returns it to the cage. Later that day, Hiccup returns to the place where he found the Night Fury, only to discover that the dragon is still stuck there. Despite being free of the ties, he can only fly a few feet at a time due to his wounds. Later, while sketching the dragon, Hiccup notices that the dragon is missing a tail fin. He then drops the pencil on the ground, which triggers the dragon to look over at him, causing him to flee in terror. As Hiccup arrives at the village, Gabber is having dinner with the kids and handing out dragon books. Everyone departs without taking the book, but Hiccup picks it up and begins reading. He then discovers that no one knows anything about the Night Fury dragon because it is so mysterious and impossible to approach. The following morning, Stoic and his men approach the dragon's nest with the intention of attacking it so that the beasts feel scared and flee to another area. Meanwhile, during the training, Hiccup continually asks Gabber about the Night Fury dragons and fails to practice correctly. Later, while fighting the dragon, Astrid falls on top of Hiccup. The dragon is about to make the final attack, but she manages to grasp the axe in time to defend herself. She then lands a strike on the beast and manages to push it away. After training, Hiccup returns to meet the Night Fury dragon, this time carrying a fish. He even tosses away his knife to show the dragon that he is not a threat. He then names the dragon Toothless because of its retractable teeth and spends some time with him. That evening, during dinner, the kids discuss how Gabber lost his leg due to a dragon. Gabber then explains that if they are on a dragon's back, they can damage or break their wings, preventing them from flying instantly. Hearing this, Hiccup leaves and spends the entire night trying to create prosthetic wings for Toothless. The following morning, Hiccup returns to Toothless with a bucket full of fish. Toothless gestures for him to take the eel fish from the bucket, which he does. While Toothless is busy devouring the fish, Hiccup moves to try to repair his injured wings. The new fin helps, but Toothless can't control it and accidentally takes Hiccup on a ride, giving him a good idea of what's required to help the dragon fly properly. The next day, at training, Hiccup shows the dragon some eelfish and quickly gains control of it. Everyone in the place is stunned, but Hiccup walks away without answering any of their queries. In the following scene, we see Hiccup using his leg to control Toothless' wings. He also learns a lot about dragons while being toothless, including how to train them without killing them. He discovers that dragons are basically huge cats who enjoy being petted and get happy when scratched behind the ears. There's also a type of grass that makes them cheerful and excited. These dragons can be readily turned into pets by doing so, but no one knows the true techniques or how Hiccup learned them. As a result, he receives a lot of admiration and becomes well known in his village, but Astrid suspects him. When Stock returns from a fruitless quest for the dragon nest, he is startled but happy to learn that his son is excelling at dragon training. Meanwhile, Hiccup is currently training with Toothless to fly with the upgraded version of the prosthesis wings. However, while flying, Hiccup lets off of Toothless' back and they both crash since Toothless cannot adjust the device himself. Just as they are about to collide, Hiccup manages to get back onto the beast's back and they recover. Later, when they stop to rest, several dragons appear to eat, but Toothless refuses to share his fish with them. Hiccup, on the other hand, decides to feed one of the dragons and ends up befriending it. At that moment, he realizes that everything the Vikings know about dragon behavior is untrue. That evening, Stoic appears to speak with Hiccup, congratulating him on his success with the training, and says that he will make a great hunter. He then gives Hiccup a horn helmet made from one of his late mother's breastplates. But, as usual, Hiccup is afraid to hurt his father's expectations and talk honestly. So, he pretends to get along with it and doesn't tell the truth to his father. The following day, Stoic joins the villagers to observe his son's training. Hiccup and Astrid are the only two left who must confront the dragons, and Astrid orders him to move aside so that she can win the competition. When she is about to strike the dragon, Hiccup had already knocked him down by scratching his head. He then becomes the winner, and the next step he must take before becoming a true Viking is to kill the dragon. Due to this, Hiccup is horrified and decides to leave the place with Toothless. However, Astrid is skeptical of Hiccup's frequent disappearances and suspicious conduct. She follows him to the secluded valley, where she meets Toothless. She then panics and tries to flee, but Hiccup follows her while riding on top of Toothless and tries to convince her that dragons are not evil. He then asks her for a chance to explain himself and lets her hop on the dragon for a ride. Following this, they soar so high that they can touch the clouds, and Astrid is taken aback by what she sees. However, moments later, they become entangled in a group of dragons coming to their nest with food. The dragons fly within a hilly island, dropping the food into a hole. However, it turns out to be home to a massive, fearsome, and extremely hungry dragon that devours the smaller ones if they don't bring enough food. Hiccup and Astrid are surprised to discover that the dragons had been taking their sheep in order to avoid being devoured themselves. Later, when they return to the village, Astrid plans to inform Stoic that the dragons are stealing all the food because they are obligated to feed the giant dragon or else they'll be eaten. Hiccup tries to stop her, claiming that if they find out about Toothless, his life will be at risk. Therefore, he requests a day to consider what he can do, and Astrid kisses him goodbye. The next day, Hiccup must take the final test of killing a dragon to officially become a Viking. When he enters the arena, he throws away his weapons in an attempt to show the Vikings that dragons only fight to defend themselves. However, this enrages Stoic and other men who arrive to intervene, scaring the dragon and prompting it to attack. Hearing Hiccup's screams, Toothless appears and destroys the bars. He then enters the arena to protect Hiccup from the other dragon, but the angry Vikings rush to catch him. Hiccup tries to stop them, but Toothless is eventually chained and imprisoned. Afterward, when they return home, Stoic scolds Hiccup, who tries to explain that dragons merely steal from the town to survive and do not mean any harm. He also accidentally reveals that Toothless took him to the dragon's nest. Hearing this, Stoic decides to use Toothless to locate the nest again. Hiccup tries to warn him about the big dragon, but Stoic refuses to listen. Soon after, an expedition of ships is compelled to depart the island, using Toothless as a guide to show the way. Later, Astrid approaches Hiccup, and the two head to the dragon's cage with their friends. His friends then connect with each of the dragons there and they all decide to fly to the mountain together. Meanwhile, at the dragon's nest, the Vikings use catapults to tear through the mountainside where the enormous dragon is trapped. When the giant dragon appears, Stoic realizes he has made a mistake. He decides to fight it himself to give the other Vikings time to flee, but Gabber volunteers to stay with him. While Stoic and Gabber prepare to sacrifice themselves to divert the dragon, kids arrive to join the fight. They are able to briefly distract the giant dragon, but this causes the Viking ships to catch fire. While the rest of them keep the enormous dragon occupied, Hiccup tries to rescue Toothless from the burning ship, but they both end up underwater, and Stoic saves both of them. Then Toothless and Hiccup team together to pursue the giant dragon. They attract it up into the skies and away from the Vikings, hoping it will crash land on the island. Finally, Toothless fires a blast into the giant dragon's gaping jaws, causing it to crash and burn, but injuring Toothless and Hiccup as well. We then see Hiccup tumble toward the fire as Toothless furiously tries to catch him. Moments after, a sad Stoic approaches the wounded Toothless on the ground, wondering what has happened to his son. However, just then, Toothless extends his wings to prove that he saved Hiccup. In the following scene, Hiccup awakens in his home, and Toothless excitingly urges him out of bed. Hiccup discovers that he has lost his left foot in the battle with the big dragon. However, it turns out that Gabber has created a new one that is cleverly spring-loaded. They then go out into the village, which is full of flying, laughing dragons, as the Vikings now regard them as pets. Astrid then cheerfully kisses Hiccup. The film concludes with Hiccup taking flying with Astrid and his friends, celebrating the new alliance of Vikings and dragons. We have come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Kindly like, subscribe, and share this video. If you also have thoughts you intend to share, kindly leave them in the comment section. See you in the next video.